everyone, and welcome to Asian Viewpoints with Mary Sitt. Our guest today is the consummate networker and organizer. Leverett Wing is the president and CEO of the Commonwealth Seminar, a nonprofit in Boston whose mission is to open the doors of government to everyone. Leverett sits on the boards of seven organizations in the Boston area, including the Joslin Diabetes Center, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, the Boston Children's Museum, and WGBH TV and radio. And for the past 3 decades, he has conceived, promoted, and led innovative programs to benefit the community. Leverett, thanks for being with us.
Great. Thanks so much, Mary. It's great seeing you again.
So you're a community activist. Yeah, it's been too long. So let's talk first about anti-Asian hate. A recent study that came out, a national study in May, commissioned by the Stop AAPI Hate, and that stands for Asian American Pacific Islander, showed that half of all respondents said they had experienced discrimination. Is this really a thing, or are people just being overly sensitive to perceived slights?
I mean, it's been a thing for decades and generations. Starting with the Chinese Exclusion Act, and I'm just naming the big ticket items: the Chinese Exclusion Act, the Japanese internment, and most recently the AAPI hate, which was exacerbated by the onset of COVID. It's been going on through generations where our community has been scapegoated, vilified, attacked both physically and verbally by people looking to blame somebody for their ills or for something that might be going on in their communities or in the United States. And we're an easy target because we're easily identifiable. More easily identifiable. But the fact that we are the fastest growing minority group, to use that term, in the United States, makes us a much more able to defend ourselves now, and it makes us much more cognizant of what's been going on. It makes us much more able to spotlight things that have gone on.
So are Asians more of a threat now to certain groups, Leverett, because it's the fastest growing minority group, or not?
I mean, I think we'll always be seen as some sort of threat just because of the way we look. Somebody walks down the street, and I've said this during COVID, and they want to attack you. And they think, oh, the COVID the COVID disease or the COVID pandemic came from China, and it's perceived that way, and it was pushed that way, called the Chinese virus or the Kung flu by politicians, and they want to attack somebody. They're not going to come up to somebody like me or you and say, "Excuse me, before I attack you, how many generations have you been here? Do you speak? How's your language skills? Did you go to school around here?" No, they're going to look at you, identify you, and attack you either verbally or physically.
Okay, so what can people do about this? Either bystanders who see this, or people who are the victims of this, or just people who care. What can be done?
Our organizational capacity has improved so much from back in the day when it was. We were only about 50,000 during the Chinese Exclusion Act, and during the Japanese internment. Our internal infrastructure has improved so much. Now we have community organizations, and not just within our own communities, but externally. We have so many more allies now, and we've allies within the Black and Latinx communities and the white communities as well. One of the silver linings that come out of this is that we've been able to ally more with these communities. With after the George Floyd shooting and after and the Black Lives Matter movement and with AAPI hate, we've been able to. They've come to our defense, and I think it's also come to light the different collaborations and the allyships that we've created with them through the generations. So we've been able to share those stories.
Okay, so band together, work with other groups, and move forward from there. You have had years of experience bringing a concept into reality. So you go from drawing board of, hey, this is a good idea, to like boots on the ground where you have volunteers actually executing that idea. Tell me how you do that. It's a huge process. It takes time, right?
It does. I mean, it takes time. It takes patience. It takes to use the term, it takes a village.
Mhm.
Nobody does these things by themselves. When it came to Joslin Diabetes Center and launching the Asian American Diabetes Initiative, and then the Taste of Ginger, which was has been the primary fundraising mechanism. You start out with an idea, and then you try to build critical mass, and you get people who are on board, and then people slowly but surely build that coalition and build that type of infrastructure so that it becomes more self-sustaining. And after, for the first few years, it's, so often it's very largely on one person. For many
Right.
years, it was the Taste of Ginger was sort of a small group, and a lot of the efforts were done by me with our Asian American Community Boat Cruise, which actually
Mhm.
is now on Boston Harbor. We cruise the harbor every year with communities in Chinatown and Quincy and
Mhm.
Malden here in Massachusetts, which are large Asian American communities. We were offered a boat, but the first few years it was
This is a
largely
dragon boat, right? A dragon boat?
no, this is actually a large cruise for over 1,000 people from the Asian
Oh,
American community
oh,
around
right. Where you do
Boston
the
Harbor.
cruises in the Boston Harbor, right?
Exactly, and it sells out in 10 minutes now. 1,000 tickets in 10 minutes, which is always kind of fun. But for the first few years, it was largely my family. We were the ones who loaded the food onto the boat. We helped the DJ. We did all of these things, and we got a lot of, thankfully Boston Harbor now gave us the boat and
Right.
offered us volunteers. But for the first few years, it was largely, just sort of a one family show trying to get it. But now it's much more self-sufficient.
How do you get people to share your vision? How do you get them to catch that enthusiasm and that passion that you seem to have with all different types of community groups?
I mean, I think there's pent up need and there's pent up demand, and people, for the cruise, once people saw what it was all about, and once people got onto the harbor, the first year I should say it sold out in only 8 hours. But then the next year, once people
Right.
got in, it sold out in 27 minutes. And I remember these numbers. And then the next year, it sold out in 10 minutes. And so
Uh,
once people see, similar to the Harbor Cruise Joslin, once people see the benefits and once people experience, what these activities and what these initiatives are all about, then that begats more enthusiasm, and that begats more support, and that begats, even more enthusiasm. So it becomes a vicious cycle in a good way.
what makes an effective board member? Because, so many times if you're in the audience of certain boards, especially government type meetings, it's so boring, but it's really important work being done. How do you be an effective board member where you're just not just piping up to sound smart, but you actually contributing to that organization?
Connections, building the networks, building the connections so that you benefit not only the board, but the community and the organizations that you work with, and try to build those interconnectivities or intersectionalities, as
Mhm.
my director of outreach, Lily, likes to say. It's
Uh-huh.
just, all these, we're all intertwined, and everybody can support everybody else. And if you can uplift one board with another board and vice versa, it uplifts all of us. That's one of the things I love about it is, building those relationships, learning more, be
Mhm.
willing to learn more about, you don't know everything. One
Right.
doesn't know everything. I certainly
Right.
don't. And
Right.
so you just be willing to learn more, and then utilize that learning and that education and those networks to benefit everybody else.
So when you sit on a board and you're listening to the business of that organization, you're thinking, what other organizations, what other people do I know that can be brought into the picture and help
Yeah.
network and help this organization, and they can mutually sort of help each
Yeah.
other out? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also diversify the board, because
Mhm.
there's so many boards that are, that don't have our faces, don't have our voices, don't have our
Right.
perspectives. And so trying to diversify that so that you leave that board a better place. You leave an organization a better place. And that's always what I try to do.
And why is diversity so important on boards?
I mean, from our community's perspective, it's to get our perspectives out there and our voices out there and our needs out there, so that the people in decision-making positions, whether it's the board or the staff on those organizations, are cognizant or realize what, one, what we need, and two, what we bring to the table. And from that board's perspective or from that organization's perspective, it behooves them to start to get to know the communities that they're in. I mean, it makes for a better organization. It makes for better business. It makes them seen as an organization that is part of the community, and it's good business for them if customers or constituents see them as vested in the community, because that builds more trust.
Leverett, I wish we could clone you as a community activist and put you in
Oh, you don't want
cities all
that.
over the United States.
Oh my gosh, my wife
Because you
would
accomplished so much.
sick to her stomach if you cloned me. Please, thank you though.
Well, we'll just follow your tips then. Try to do good in our communities. Thank you so much, Leverett, for being with us.
Oh, always a pleasure. It's always great to see you, Mary, and hopefully we'll see each other again soon.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button below and be sure to subscribe. I'll see you again in the next video, and thanks for watching.